Where's your gavel? Come on. I've done it 4 times. I was just going to use a gavel. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the meeting of the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority. We're going to go ahead and convene this meeting promptly at 9 o'clock because I was on time. Item number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. We'll be led today by Supervisor Magsig. All rise. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, I have to say, first and foremost, the SJVIA produces leaders. I mean, we had a state senator here, Senator Borges, and now we've got a potential congressman. Gosh, this SJVIA, what an incredible organization. All right, item 3 on our agenda is roll call.
Director Brandow. Director Magsig.
Present.
Director Mendez. Here. Director McCarry.
Here.
Director Pacheco.
Here.
Director Sheklian. Here. Director Vanderpool.
Present. All right, it appears we have a quorum. Next item on our agenda is item 4. That's a request to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Magsig, second by Mendez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is item 5. This is closed session. Council, do we have need for closed session at this time? I should have known. I mean, I kind of looked at the audience, so. All right. We will now adjourn to closed session. Return. Head up, no. None of that here. All right, good morning. Thank you for your patience. We are now back in session. Council, do you have anything you need to report out?
Nothing to report out.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now continue on and take up item 6 on our agenda. This is public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the SJVIA that is not appearing on today's agenda. Those items will be allowed for public comment. Anyone here wishing to speak under the public comment period? Online? On phone?
No calls.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public comment period now and continue on our agenda. Item 7 is a request to approve the consent calendar. This is an action item. We have a motion by Joaquin, second by Mendez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we're going to move on to item 8. This is a request to receive an update from the Auditor Treasurer on cash flow projections.
Good morning. Jamie from the Auditor Controller's Office, County of Fresno. I'm going to go over some cash flow projections for you guys. And this is as of December 10th. There's a decrease in actual average of the cash flow attributing to the timing of the County of Fresno activities receivables. The average daily PPO and EPO claims for this period are 119,000. The pharmacy claims and dental claims expenses are starting to normalize. Member contributions remain steady and constant. Our lowest actual is 11/29/21 for $33,381,557, and our highest actual was on 9/13/2021 for $40,019,728. On to our SJVI debt obligations and cash positions as of 12/10. We are currently, our cash position was taken on 12/2. And we are capable of meeting all debt obligations that can maintain capability through the maintainer of the fiscal year, and our loan interest payments due on 12/30/2021. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions or comments from any directors? Okay, thank you for that presentation. All right, next is item 9. This is a request to receive the consultant's medical, dental, and vision experience reports through September 2021 with an update on projected plan experience, surplus, accumulation, and projections. Hi, Borden.
Good morning, Borden Darm with Keenan. And I'm reporting on the experience through September. So at our last board meeting, we reported through August, so this is a 1-month update, so not a lot of changes. I'll hit the highlights of the report. Unfortunately, the self-funded medical plan continues to have a negative value month over month. If you see the little red box that's showing April through September, we've actually had costs that exceeded premiums that have come in. So that's been of concern. As I reported earlier, we have made some changes. It's predominantly the EPO that is driving that. Through September, the EPO is in about a $2.9 million deficit position overall, and it's just the County of Fresno that has the EPO. But still, overall, we have a positive position overall for the County of Fresno as far as contributions to reserve accumulations. And that's because we have, with the EPO, we have a Kaiser parity strategy. We have a little bit of Kaiser on the Kaiser coverage margin reserve as well too. And we have prescription drug rebates that come in quarterly as well that contribute to those amounts, such that overall, from August to September, we moved from a $5.1 million surplus position to a $5.8 million surplus position. So we're still heading in the right direction. You'll see on the chart, that chart there, for the first time in quite some time, you can see that our actual performance is now below what the projection is. And that kind of coincides with the auditor's report that you just saw as well too. We are at about, through September, we're at 65% of what was projected. We should have been at 75%, with 75% of the year gone by. Most likely, we will not hit our target for the year, but we will hit all of our established goals, as you just saw in the auditor's report too, for stabilization, IBNR. Everything will still be fully funded, and the loan repayment will also still be funded.
Question from Congressman Magsig.
Thank you very much, Pete. So, auditor's report, now looking at, this trend line and just your explanation together, we're, from a cash standpoint, we're off by about, $4 million, and, we're below where we should be. What's driving the cost? Is there any one thing? Is it inflation?
BPO.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's the EPO. There is a little bit of, there's certainly residue from COVID. We have a separate COVID report that we'll go into, but, and I believe that COVID report will show a number north of $5 million that we've paid.
And so a question I have to my colleagues on the, to my right, I think, and I don't know how Tulare County is handling some of this, but have the counties, Fresno County or Tulare County, been given separate dollar allocations, COVID dollars, to help kind of smooth out the impact of all the COVID costs that we knew were going to come?
I'm unaware of any allocation that's come down to the Sjvia level.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay. Outside of, as we look to close out this year, one of the things I do want to point out is we did get one more prescription drug rebate. That's another $694,000. That came in at the beginning of December. So we've received all our rebates in. So that'll give us a little bump again to be used to offset any deficit positions that we might see in the last quarter as well too.
So, real quick, just in general, just a general comment I'll make here. Not this chart, it's actually on the next page. But looking at the SJV, that chart right there at the top, look at the SJVIA since 2018. You feel pretty darn good about the PPO, about the HDHP, high deductible health plan, and in total, you feel really good. There's one area that's not so great, but yet we continue to offer it. At what point are we going to cut our losses and get rid of that?
First of all, we introduced two, I would say, an intermediate and a lower level EPO plan at the County of Fresno, such that, because the EPO plan that is driving this right now is truly pretty much first dollar coverage.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of cost sharing going on.
I understand, and we see the result. I mean, at first, when it first came out, it seemed like it was a great idea, and 19, okay, maybe it's just something went wrong. Well, then 20, something went wrong. 21, same thing.
Right, and I think a lot of it has to do. First of all, I will say this: we're better off in the EPO than having stayed in the HMO. Because the HMO alone,
correct,
just that capitation fee was just ridiculous. And so, and County of Fresno has kind of taken a position of what is the overall renewal that I need? So not so much looking at each individual bucket, but looking at the total bucket. And they're basically whole, which means there's the introduction of quite a few cross-subsidizations between the plans. And that's, I think, another issue that we can look at.
That's a Fresno County thing. I don't want to make a decision for Fresno County.
Yeah.
In whole, they're doing okay, but I mean, this thing's just a dog.
So we did have 332 people disenroll out of the EPO and move into the other EPOs. So I think we'll have to take a wait-and-see attitude. The other thing that I've already met with Kaiser, and as I previously mentioned, over the last 5 years, the biggest emphasis, I think, from a consulting perspective, certainly how we reduce costs has always been on my mind, but making the SJVA financially strong was the main goal. We're here now, and now the emphasis is going to be shifting, at least from our consulting perspective, to how healthy can we make people. And we've got some ideas that we'll be running through with staff relative to pilot programs that we want to introduce. We have to change the overall demographic profile. It basically comes down to whether you're a Fresno or whether you're Tulare County employee. We have an obesity issue at 86%. That delivers comorbidity factors with diabetes, musculoskeletal issues, and a lot of other things. And I'm not saying we're not going to monitor the financial position. We're going to continue to, because we're where we need to be. The board's established that a 3-month stabilization reserve is a good number to have. But now we really need to start working on how healthy can we make the members? Can we get people to change some of their habits? Can we introduce new habits? And I know that's a tremendously difficult thing to do, but we need to do it so that we can reduce costs. The alternative is, of course, morbidity or mortality. Take care of those that are sickly, and we have a much younger workforce come in. That's another way to do it as well too. But I think earlier this year when we reported on the workforce aging, we showed for the first time an uptick. You weren't getting younger, you were getting older. So we have to be very cognizant of that as we go forward over the next few years too.
That's why our health costs are getting more expensive.
Yeah. Yep. And we'll be working with both of our carrier partners and with Sjvia staff to come up with some solutions. And I'm hopeful that we'll have a program in place that I can present it for you to vote on by the May board meeting. You'll be hearing more at February's meeting on that as well.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Okay. Does that conclude item 9?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 10. This is a request to receive Keenan Pharmacy Services Consultants Report on NPRX Q3 2021 utilization.
And via Zoom, we have Alex with us from our Keenan Pharmacy Services group, and she is going to go over the report.
Yep, thank you, Borden. Alex Van Brunt here from Keenan Pharmacy Services. As Borden mentioned, I will do some high-level details on the drug spend for Q3. As we've seen in previous quarters, Q3 plan costs did increase as well. Q3 had about a 4% increase in plan costs compared to the previous quarter. It was about 500,000 more when comparing Q3 2020 to Q3 2021. So, significant increase there. We've seen this across the board and book of business due to inflation. The increase can also be attributed to, new utilizers and additional scripts being dispensed. The claims volume did increase and surge into most channels for Q3. And a majority of those scripts are still being filled at retail point of sale. Specialty had the largest increase in costs for Q3, again, due to inflation and utilization. The Q3 specialty spend makes up about 40% of the SJBIA plan costs and was about $2.1 million for Q3 2021. That's about a $1,000 increase from the previous quarter. Therapeutic class that saw the largest increase in utilization for specialty was anti-diabetic. We've seen this across the board book of business. I think it's just contributing the times and everything that's gone on COVID-wise. And most of that utilization was in the higher cost drugs. So that's a huge contributing factor to the plan cost increase. As Borden mentioned, we did have rebate payments to SJBIA that were recently released. They do continue to trend well. partly due to inflation or utilization, but also those 2021 negotiations that Keenan Pharmacy Services did negotiate with Impurex. Q2 rebates have been released. We were told that they were sent for payment on December 3rd. We have asked Impurex to share that rebate payment detail, as well as the confirmation of payment, which should be forthcoming today. And that number has been audited and confirmed by Keenan Pharmacy Services. It was just about $695,000 in rebate payments.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on, take up item 11. This is a request to receive the consultant's report on plan year 2022 stop-loss/reinsurance renewal and marketing results, and a request to authorize the president to execute application and agreement subject to approval of SJVIA council and staff.
As we do every year, we put the reinsurance program out to bid, and I'm pleased to report that for the second consecutive year, we are able to reduce our reinsurance costs from the previous year. Last year, I believe it was over 17%, so a significant drop. This year, it's going to be about a 5.8% drop. So our reinsurance costs, I believe, are becoming a lot more reasonable. I am, however, concerned, when you look on the news, it seems like inflation is a very prevailing and a very big concern. So we'll have to see what the future holds relative to reinsurance and costs in general relative to this. The recommendations, we're currently with Partner Reinsurance. The recommendation is that we go to Granular as the reinsurance carrier for 2022. Granular is a Google company that is managed by Swiss Reinsurance, which is a well-known reinsurer as well too. They entered the market about 3 years ago. Financially, they're very solvent, and we feel that we'll be able to work with them better on renewals as well too. That we renew the contract at the current level of $450,000, which is a rate decrease of 5.8% or $90,000. The Partner renewal was a 7% increase or $110,000. So the delta difference between the two is about $200,000 for next year that will be coming down. One of the things that you need to be aware of is we've only had 2 claimants, and those 2 claimants, both contracts, the Partner Re and the Granular contract, are participating dividend eligible contracts, and based on the low claim costs that you've had on your reinsurance program, we will be foregoing a dividend of about $196,000 because that dividend requires that you renew with Partner Re, which would be more expensive, and then we don't get that dividend until 12 months. So a year from now, we still will not have received that dividend yet. It's after the close of December 31st, 2022 that we would. So all in all, it kind of makes it almost a moot or a point where there's not much of a difference between the two when you add in the dividend. Where the big difference comes in is going forward on the dividend calculation. With Granular, they're going to consider 70% of your premium eligible for a dividend, where with Partner Re it's 60%, and with a refund factor of 40%, where it's currently 25%. So if we have continued good experience, we will be getting a greater rebate back from I shouldn't say rebate, it's a refund, back from Granular over Partners Re. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Okay. Thank you for that update. This is an action item.
Second.
We have a motion from Director Mendez and a second from Director Shuckley, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, the same. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we're going to move on, take up a request to receive the consultant's report on COVID-19 medical plan experience with Anthem and Kaiser through October 2021.
Okay. I think the highlights, there's a complete report in here for your review if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. But the highlights are this, about $5.6 million has been the spend for the SJVIA. This includes $810,000 in COVID testing, as well as $4.2 million on COVID treatment. To date, we have 3,353 SJVIA members who have been vaccinated as well, too.
Any other questions or comments on that, or are you done, Borden?
Yeah, the rest, I mean, if you're interested in what the inpatient statistics, I don't believe we've had a death claim on the plan at least. I know the counties may have, but on this plan we haven't. We've had a total of, and this is just on the Anthem plan, 76 admissions under the Anthem plan, 19 under the Kaiser plan. In ICU patients, we've had a total of 21 under the Anthem plan.
Okay. Any questions or comments about COVID? Want to talk vaccines? Okay. Next, we're going to move on and take up item 13. This is a request to receive the consultant's report on SJVIA, JPA administration and management roles and costs.
All right. As directed by SJVI Board, we've started the process of looking at alternatives to the two counties administering the SJVIA program. Our starting point that we used, we look every year in the fiscal year end financials that the auditor's office provides. There's an analysis of administration, wellness, communication fees, receipts, and disbursements. So we looked at those and we kind of had to rebucket a lot of those things, as you can see on the exhibit here. The other disbursements that I show there, those are things that are going to happen regardless and are pretty much outsourced for the most part anyways. And then we have the three buckets that I think could potentially be looked at. One is the auditor treasurer services, two, the county council services, and three, the HR services. Those are kind of the three buckets that we would look at. And I show you kind of what the average spend has been over the last fiscal year, a 3-year average, 5-year, and a 10-year average as well too. And we've asked the auditor's office to kind of go through there to make sure that our numbers are somewhat representative of what actually occurred. Some of my concerns were predominantly on the county council services. There may have been a little bit of a commingling of funds shown there with what was actually litigation with the ongoing services there.
And you know what, Borden, I'm glad you pointed that out, because this actually makes county council look like we're getting a pretty damn good deal, and I know attorneys are never a good deal.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but Pete, you got to remember, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be reporting on this as we go and develop basically there's 3 different approaches you can take into providing these type of services. We'll evaluate all of them.
Okay.
Before we do any type of RFP, we'll come back seeking a recommendation if that's what you want to do. And yeah, stay tuned, more to come.
And just for a little bit of insight, since you're in the consulting industry, how many plans like ours are staffed by their own dedicated employees?
I think a lot of them start out that way.
Start out staffed and then go to the model that
And
we're
then they
on.
go to different types of models,
Okay.
whether it's a complete search for a full-time executive director and staff, or whether it's simply outsourced to a third-party vendor who takes 3 or 2 of those components on.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, got a bunch of quiet electeds today, Borden.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We'll now move on and take up our next item, which is item 14. This is a request to receive the report on the RFP for SJVIA Consulting Services and a request to authorize the president to execute an agreement with Keenan and Associates.
That'll be me, Hollis McGill, SJVIA manager. So back in 2017, the SJVIA entered into an agreement for consulting services with Keenan. It was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions, which brought us to 2021. In July, we conducted an RFP, and Keenan was the sole respondent to that. Staff is recommending that we enter into a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions. Council has thoroughly vetted the contract and is comfortable with it, so we are asking for your approval to enter into the contract.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this item? All right, this is an action item. Have a motion from Director Shucklian and a second from Director Magsig, soon to be Congressman Magsig. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same. Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, pretty soon Nathan's going to be traveling with an entourage. Okay, next we're going to move on, take up item 15, SJVIA Director questions, announcements, and activity reports. Looking around to the good, the bad, the other of the order. Anyone have anything to say? You want to make an announcement here? Or
Just
you...
really appreciate the support of all of you here today, so thank you very much, Pete.
You're welcome. Anything I can do, Congressman, happy to help. Okay, well, the only thing that I have, I want to wish everyone a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays. And this is a wonderful and special time of the year, and I hope that this is healthy and wonderful for all of you. Look forward to what 2022 will bring for the SJVIA and for our counties and life here in our great county of Tulare, and Fresno sometimes too. Next, we'll move on to Congressman Magsig's favorite item on any agenda so that he can get back to
For
campaigning.
adjournment.
Adjournment.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.